Hi friends, welcome to my channel, The Cloud Security Guy. My name is Taimur. In case you're new here, we talk on a weekly basis about things like cloud security, artificial intelligence, and general cybersecurity career advice. So today's topic I wanted to talk about, which is cloud security tooling. I made a video on this because a lot of people, they've come to me, they usually ask, what is this tool? What is that tool? What does this thing do? So I thought about making a series dedicated to this. And slowly, because there are a lot of cloud security tools present, some are native, some are third party. So I thought I'll explain the concepts behind this. And the reason being because cloud security is a very tricky area and become an expert in it. And new solutions are coming out literally like every year. Gartner comes up with a new abbreviation. So to help out newcomers, if you're new to cloud security, I'm making this series about the cloud security tooling such as CSPM, CASB, CWPP. So we will focus on the tools, the most prominent tools. So I'm going to do it step by step. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many like tooling in the first video itself, but I thought I'll just cover it slowly and build up your concepts. Like always, guys, please do like and subscribe to this channel. It will really help the channel to grow and reach the maximum amount of people. Thank you for that. So the first thing we're going to discuss is cloud security posture management. I think I have talked about it before, but I wanted to talk about it in the context of other tools also, bring all the tools together. So what is the cloud security posture management? Why do you need it? Like, first of all, ask anyone who has worked for a few years in the cloud computing or cloud security, the biggest threat, they always say, it will be misconfigurations. You can see it. This is the latest report, 2022 cloud security report, which has come out. The vast majority, biggest security threat is always misconfiguration. Around 65 to 70% of all the security issues happen from misconfiguration. It can be accidental, it can be intentional. What can happen is you can just make a small change and that will result in your cloud database or your cloud server being exposed over the internet. Cyber attackers will be very happy. And it's a very common thing because most of the time it's infrastructure as code. Most of the time you have thousands of events happening in the cloud, and the cybersecurity team cannot simply keep up with all those things which are happening. So this is where a cloud security posture management solution comes in. So what is a CSPM? So simply put, it monitors your cloud security posture. It'll plug into your cloud, like say you have AWS or Azure. It'll plug into it. It'll monitor your what's the security status. It'll tell you the visibility, what's happening, what are the key risks, like how are you against PCI DSS, how are you against best practices. You can use native ones, you can use multi-cloud ones also, like third party. There are 30 third party CSPMs present, and they are like native ones, like from AWS and Azure, and we'll see a few of them. And you can also, the most powerful thing is auto remediation. You can turn on auto remediation. So something happens, you don't have to rely on email going to the cybersecurity team or a ticket being raised. It can automatically fix those issues also. So most of the time, the CISOs who are there, they want to get a dashboard. They want to know, are we following best practices? What is my current cloud security posture? What happens if somebody tries to do unauthorized? Like, how do I know how good I am with regards to PCI DSS? How do I get a dashboard showing me what's the risk across all my cloud environments? Okay, so this is where the CSPM comes in. So like if you've ever worked in AWS, Security Hub, right? The AWS Security Hub. So what it does, it will tell you what are the common, like what are the biggest risks, like open ports or cloud assets. It'll show you a dashboard also. It'll tell you, it'll gap your environment against things like PCI DSS, NIST, CIS, and it'll tell you that, okay, this if you've defined certain policies, if there is any drift against those policies, what's the status. So this is the native one from AWS. It's called Security Hub. It's pretty awesome. You have things like Microsoft Azure also. They have Microsoft Defender for cloud. Same thing. It'll plug in. It'll tell you in a nice little screenshot what is the security posture right now of your cloud environment. Okay. And I've used all of them. I mean, they're pretty amazing. Similarly, Google Cloud Platform also has the Security Command Center. I mean, if you have ever worked on one of these cloud environments, definitely turn it on. I think it's like literally a mandatory requirement to do it if you want to know what are your security posture right now. There are third-party ones also present. I've used a lot of them. I don't want to name any names because I don't want to specifically propagate any. And there you can look at the Gartner report there, but there are some very, very good third-party tools also present. They are better for multi-cloud. If you just have one environment like Azure or AWS, then just using the native one is okay, honestly. But if you have a multi-cloud, if you have Azure and AWS, then definitely go with a third-party one because it will give you one single dashboard. Okay. So the key points, and I've implemented many CSPMs. I've implemented native ones. I have implemented third-party ones. what are the things you want to understand? So first of all, CSPM is not a silver bullet. People think that I just implement a CSPM, all my cloud problems are solved. No, the CSPM is like any other solution, right? It has a learning curve. It must be mature to work effectively in any environment. It's not a plug and play. You can just plug it in and then forget about it. See, a lot of people forget the goal of a CSPM. The goal of the CSPM is not to implement the CSPM. It's not the goal, right? The goal is to mitigate the risks in your cloud environment. So you need to probably use it properly. The second would be optimizing the alerts. A lot of people, what they do is plug it in and they just configure email address and they forget about it. No, there will be a lot of false positives at the start. You need to optimize the alerts. Otherwise, your team will get alert fatigue. They will get like 10,000 email alerts every day. They will get bored and just stop looking at it. They'll put a rule that it goes to the junk folder. Honestly, that's what happens. So you need to look at auto remediation, turning it on, looking at the medium into low, which key you can remove, so that the team only looks at the critical alerts, and that's where the focus is. Okay. And other things are, just try to remember that don't get scared by the number of alerts and the number of issues that happen. You will never get 100% compliance. A lot of people think that if I go and make it 100% compliant to PCI or NIST, I'm secure. No, it doesn't happen. That's setting yourself up for failure. Okay. It's like a process. Slowly, changes will happen. New events will come. So just make it a process, which is like, make sure you look at it almost on a weekly basis. Alerts are set up. Auto remediation is there. And lastly, very important, do not turn on auto remediation on day one. Sometimes people get a little bit too excited. They turn on auto remediation, and what happens? It will break some existing application. Your existing application will stop working because the CSPM is going to kick in and it's going to start shutting down things. And because you've turned on auto remediation, it's going to start interrupting the business applications. Always turn on the policies first in read-only mode, passive mode. Understand, look at it for 15 days, 1 month, and then look at turning on auto remediation step by step. Do not turn it on right from day one, please. Okay. And lastly, one thing I haven't mentioned here, but please onboard everything. Onboard all your accounts, whether they are dev, production, QA. Even if your QA is not critical, if an attacker compromises that, he can get an understanding of your environment, okay, and use that to hit production. So please onboard all of your subscriptions, all of your accounts onto the CSPM. Okay, so that covers the CSPM. The next one is a cloud access security broker. So what is that? Like I said, so we talked about the biggest risk, right? The number one was misconfiguration. The second one, if you can look at, is APIs, and the third one is exfiltration of sensitive data. So the number two is reason easily a lot of times, which most CISOs, they have an issue with the cloud, is data leakage. Simply put, the cloud makes it very, very easy for you to share data and collaborate with external users. Just a simple click of the button can expose a file over the internet, okay? And data is spread all over the place, from your SaaS applications like OneDrive, Salesforce, Microsoft 365, to your cloud infrastructure, to your on-prem. And it's a nightmare to track, right? And there's also the issue of shadow IT. So with users, they start bypassing your restrictive IT policies and they start using their own things. So it's a big, big challenge for cybersecurity teams in trying to mitigate the risks of people copying data in, copying data out. So this is where a CASB comes in. So what is a CASB? It's called a cloud access security broker. It is a solution. It's like a single point, control point for your cloud applications, and enforces data, policies around data. So who can do what with your data? Who can upload, who can download, who can access data? And it sits between the user and the cloud application. And then you put in your policies, right? Like who can copy data, like who can download it, what are the suspicious behaviors. It gives you control over shadow IT. So it works in like different modes, which you look at, and you can mitigate your data leakage risks. It doesn't matter where the person is coming on, and it'll enforce your on-prem DLP to the cloud. Okay. So it's a very, very powerful software, provided you use it correctly. And of course, it enforces zero trust also, because it inspects and authenticates every request which is coming in. It really helps you to enforce that. It also prevents cloud malware attacks, because if you're looking at every file which is uploading and downloading, it'll actually catch those things and inspect it. So it's a very good software to have. Definitely, if you have like a lot of cloud applications, the CASB is a must. So it works in different modes I talked about. So for the most efficient one is called reverse proxy. So what happens in a reverse proxy? In this one, it operates in the data path. So what does that mean? Usually you have a single sign-on, right? And before you access your cloud applications. So when the user connects to the SSO, the CASB will kick in reverse proxy mode, and it will inspect everything. So it will inspect all the data which is coming in, going out, and it will see what the user is going. Is he downloading? Is he uploading? So, and you are able to enforce your DLP policies in real time. So it doesn't matter whether I'm accessing from my home, from my office, the CASB will come in and it'll look at what you're downloading, uploading, and it'll stop users in real time. It's the most efficient way to enforce it. It does sometimes, I mean, this is the ideal CASB architecture and it gives you the most visibility, but it does sometimes introduce a little bit of a delay, because you're in the path and it's inspecting everything. Sometimes a delay happens. So the other one is forward proxy. In the forward proxy, usually what happens is the agent is deployed on your user's workstation. And it, like I said, like the name says, it forwards all the traffic to the CASB. So from the user to the CASB, it's usually faster than reverse proxy, but the hassle is you have to deploy an agent also. So from here, it's looking at all the traffic and it's acting like a forward proxy and sending it to the CASB. And from there, you're accessing your cloud applications. It is sometimes useful if you want to control over people who are not within your employees, like partners and consultants. You can deploy that agent on their PC and it will look at everything. So this is the reverse proxy. Honestly, I haven't seen that many deployments of a forward proxy. Usually it's reverse proxy or the next one, which is API mode. So this is the easiest mode to implement. And sometimes if you are like, it's a new deployment of a CASB, a lot of people I've seen, they use it in this way. And it's ideal for like discovering data, what data is stored in Dropbox and OneDrive and Salesforce. So it's a complete read-only mode. It doesn't interrupt anything. It just discovers data and alerts you. And slowly, you can move to a reverse proxy mode. So this is the one usually which customers start with. It does not have real-time capabilities, but it is ideal for discovering data and getting alerts and generally getting used to the concept of a CASB. So what's the key points for CASB? Ideally, you should enable both modes. A lot of people sometimes they get scared of reverse proxy. So no, but you should enable it if you want to take the full benefits of a CASB. Okay, and make sure that your CASB is also supporting everything, all your cloud applications. Check before you buy one. You definitely need a single sign-on for reverse proxy because that is how the reverse proxy architecture works. So make sure you have a single sign-on solution before you think about enabling reverse proxy. And you need to make sure, I can't believe I have to say this, but please test it out fully before enabling reverse proxy. Otherwise, again, you will break your application. It can block legitimate user activities and cause a big business disruption. If you do not test it out before, I've seen this happen. People get excited and they just enable reverse proxy, blocking download, upload, and then it completely disrupts everything. And then people go against the CAS and they say, just remove this CASB application. So please don't do that. Okay, so that covers the CASB. Next one is Cloud Workload Protection Platform. What is this? So if another issue, so now we've looked at the CASB, which controls user activities, right? It tells you what the user is doing. The CSPM tells you what is happening in the cloud. The CWPP, like the name said, it has to do with your workloads. What do I mean by workloads? I mean, I'm talking about VMs, host, containers, Kubernetes, serverless architecture, APIs. Those are the things which are there in the cloud. It can be a nightmare to secure those workloads, right? So this is where the CWPP kicks in. What does it do? It protects your workload in the cloud. It operates a little bit lower than the CSPM. However, it gets more visibility, okay? And it doesn't matter if you've implemented it properly, the agent there, it runs on your VMs, your containers, it hooks into your serverless functions. It'll tell you what's happening, what are the hardening policies, what are the vulnerabilities which are present. It gives you hardening configuration checks. It'll scan before your code is moved into production. It usually has multi-cloud support, which is awesome. So what happens is whether you're using it in Azure or AWS, the control will be the same because it's hooked into your workload. This is great for containers and serverless. A lot of people I've seen, they make the mistake. They only secure their VMs. They do not look at their APIs. They do not look at their serverless architecture, the containers. So this is where the CWPP can really come in and give you that benefit. So like I said, it will secure. These are all the different types of workloads which it can secure. And you need this if you have like a hybrid or multi-cloud environment. You definitely need this. It will hook into your CI/CD also. And the sad reality is most cybersecurity teams, sometimes they do not know how to secure microservices, containers. So CWPP has native functionality to protect those workloads. Okay, it'll do whitelisting, malware scanning, all of those things are there. It'll give you real-time threat intel, and it really helps with incident response also. So if you look at it from the CSPM, this is from Gartner. The CSPM operates a little bit upper. It is at the higher level, the control plane. So it'll look at your cloud security posture, what are happening, what are the policies and everything. And the CWPP is a bit lower down the chain. It is where your workloads are, where your containers. A lot of people ask me which is better, CSPM and CWPP. I always tell them this is a wrong question to ask. They are completely different use cases. You need both of them to proper secure your cloud environment. So this covers our three main tooling which I was talking about, guys. I'm going to cover more of them. I don't want to overwhelm you with too many abbreviations in the first video only. So this covers it, guys. Okay, it's ran on for 15 minutes now. I'm going to make more of these videos to cover the other tooling also. Let me know if you were like understood it or anything I should have covered more. Please do like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.